We are live once again on a Friday night, and who knows where the conversation will take us. We're supposed to be joined by my friend, your friend, the trendsetter, Alan Michaels, who's staying trendy right now in traffic, as a matter of fact. And we'll also be joined by Armageddon Shane Davidson here in a few minutes shortly. So hang on tight for station identification. We are echoing, but we're live right now on Sportswire Radio. So my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I'm looking forward to being here for the next few hours, and we've got a lot to talk about. We'll talk about what's on your mind. You tell me right now. It could be anything, anywhere the conversation goes. What would you like to see Sportswire Radio do? What would you like not to see Sportswire Radio do? Who knows, whatever else. Maybe we'll talk sports. Maybe we'll get you ready for SummerSlam. Maybe we'll get you ready for some stuff that just happened and what's going to happen. ROEW had a big show today. So did NEW. We've got other shows coming up here this weekend. WCE just had their show Wednesday. A lot to talk about here. So tell me what's on your mind, and we'll hang out here over next, who knows, 90 minutes. It could be the next 120 minutes. It could be all night. Well, I don't really have much of a voice all night, but again, I look forward to joining here tonight. And also want to wish a happy birthday to my buddy, Mr. Michael Christian. Michael, it's your birthday today. I hope you had a great day. I know also you had a graduation in the family. Your child, one of your kids, graduated from a different specialized type of school. So congratulations to you on that, my friend. And I'm doing good, man. What's on your mind and absolute positive energy? Is this the man that's going to be here Sunday night here at 7 o'clock Eastern time, Mr. Andre Anomaly? It looks like it. I'm very excited to have you here. And speaking of announcements, I'm going to go right for the jugular here. Right after SummerSlam, I'm going to be joined by Chaotic of Tennessee Backyard Wrestling. He's going to be here live, and he's going to talk about the fallout from Rebellion. He's going to talk about Alan Michaels. He's going to get us ready for Rampage 167. So I am very excited about that. I hope you'll be as well. And let me say hello to some people, because at this point, there really is nothing really anybody could not say here on Sportswire. So who knows? Maybe we'll bring people on to the call, whatever else it might be. But my buddy Aaron Blaze. Aaron, how you doing? I'm looking forward to ATK is going to be in the house next Saturday. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for reminding me, both kids. Nicholas Crenton, who certainly had a lot to say on WC's YouTube page, and he's going to be in a match next week in an anniversary that could very well change the trajectory of his singles career in the backyard in the underground wrestling circuit. I am doing good. My friend Jack Spade, how have you been, my friend? It has been a while. It's been a hot skip in a minute. I was thinking about you the other day because I had on a Tyson Spade, but I haven't had on a Jack Spade recently. But I'm doing good. Dimitri Green's in the house, the general manager of the PWF Mid-South. What's going on, my brother? I know a lot to talk about. PWF Mid-South is going to be coming up with their first show at the end of the month, and I know Resurrection's going to be back at the end of the month. And my buddy Sean Jovi, who was here yesterday, the resident rock star, America's resident rock star. And how is Fozzy, Sean Jovi? Obviously, you were America's cat dad. You were America's vlogger. You were America's gold winner. Sean Jovi basically is America at this point. We should all just vote for Sean Jovi for president. But how are you doing, my friend? So what's on everybody's minds right now? I feel like this could be an anywhere, any type of conversation tonight. I don't really have anything planned. I mean, I might do a regular sports show, but these guys, they'll show up if they don't want to. Yeah, Randy Dillon, my buddy. How you doing, Randy? SummerSlam is looking very exciting. Did you like the Bloodline winning tag team titles to add to their arsenal? Does that make you believe into Solo beating Cody Rhodes? What do you think about on the women's title situation? What do you think about Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker? What do you think about anything right now? Anything and anywhere. I'll talk about any what, any who, how, when, where, and let me know what's on your mind over the next, 60, 90, 120 minutes. And I see we got a lot of things to talk about. It's still a few years until Jovi could run. Well, yeah, all right, the 35. Oh, okay. I forgot we still that's still such a thing, right? Oh, obviously I know that I took law for 2 years, but yes, Mr. Jovi isn't 35, so that makes two of us. So obviously me and Jovi were disqualified, but tell me what qualifies on your mind to talk about here on a Friday night. Usually we have something, but we kind of on Fridays sometimes dial it back, although I kind of think the way we're going at this point in Sportswire will obviously maybe put more guys here on Friday nights with really the regular sports shows we do really doesn't do as well. Well, how old are you, Nicholas Crenton? I'm 33. What about yourself, my man? Oh, in 6 months you qualify, so you just missed the qualification. Maybe you'll make it by January 20th. Who knows? But obviously, wait, okay, Jovi for president, absolutely, and definitely in our circuit, I think we definitely get some of that. Oh, he's 36, so you could. So why didn't you run this year? I mean, Jack Spades here in the chat, he's actually gotten votes before for president. You and Jack Spades should have formed a ticket. That would have been a fun thing. You could have had one guy could have had the Midwest covered, the other guy could have had the South and the Southwest. But what's good here? If I don't get hung for something I said on Sportswire in the next 3 years, very well could be. And Dimitri Green's 34, so it could be, who knows? We could be forming our own presidential cabinet on Sportswire come 4 years from now. So either Harris is going to get a second term, Trump can't run again, and RFK, I guess, does he have a chance? I don't know, but we'll have to find out. But enough about that. I don't really want to talk about politics. I want to talk about what's on your minds. Tell me wrestling. Tell me local stuff in the independent backyard, in the underground circuit. What do you want to see Sportswire Radio do? What do you think that I should do that you'd like to see me do a better job for? Is there anything in particular? And yes, absolutely. I am very proud to be your friend, Michael. I am very proud to wear your shirt. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do, hopefully at XCW's upcoming Summer Mania show and Solo winning at SummerSlam. You think he's going to beat Cody? You think that we're going to get a redux of the bloodline being dominant? You think so? You think that's what we're going to get? My buddy Ace Reed is in the house. How you doing, Ace? Now, everybody's talking about you, Ace. So when are you going to Michigan? When are you going to Tennessee? When are you going to Georgia? When are you going to Connecticut? When are you going to Massachusetts, Wisconsin? You better be going somewhere here. That's a shame. Yeah, I mean, I hear you, but the viewership isn't there right now. I mean, I'm good to see you too, TBK. Everything is good. Hope you're feeling well, but the viewership wants the backyard and the underground wrestling circuit, wrestling overall, and I think that's really where it goes. Also, guys have been sick. Rob Maraska's been under the weather. Chris has been sick. I mean, really, we're really known for wrestling coverage, backyard and underground wrestling. But I definitely hear you. I appreciate you. But I can always talk wrestling. So if you want to talk WWE, tell me what's on your mind. Solo not winning, Cody retaining. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's too soon for Solo. What do you think on the women's end? Yeah, we could definitely talk wrestling. Tell me, I'm willing to talk anything in the chat, wrestling-wise. You want to hit me with WWE? You want to talk about, how about Shane McMahon and Tony Khan? What did you guys think of the Shane McMahon, Tony Khan? I mean, enough about the backyard and the underground. I'll give you a pass on that, TBK, but let's talk about what's going on in the other things in WWE. What about the deal that Warner Brothers and AEW was supposed to have? That's not happening. So what else is on your mind in the wrestling world? Because it is good to talk current events. Andre will retain a declaration of war. Well, you're going to tell me this coming Sunday at 7 o'clock Eastern time. I mean, I'm looking forward to that. That'd be a good thing. Yeah, definitely we'll see. I mean, definitely we'll see what happens. Obviously, we'll see what the schedule is on Sportswire shows, but definitely never say never. I hope you're feeling good, my friend, and the Orioles and PC personal computer are treating you better. Summer 2025 is right around the corner because, well, this summer is almost halfway over. Is it crazy to think, ladies and gentlemen, that summer is basically halfway over? AEW, yeah. What happened with AEW and Britt Baker? I mean, what the heck happened there? And I mean, it seems like everybody has a problem in that locker room. Is there anybody there that's not having an issue or a dispute? Yeah, I think the Shane AEW. So I have to throw this out there because there's been talk about super shows and super cards. So if Shane could be working with AEW, and I hate to throw his name out there because I really hate to give him any credit, but does that mean that guy whose initials are VKM, does he come a little bit further behind? Or what do you guys all think on that? Yeah, no, we don't have to talk about baseball. No, trust me. Baseball, we're not really a baseball network at this point. What's going on, James? I just saw you doing a lounge. What's going on? I'm just talking current events right now. I saw your Poncho latest TikTok reel. We're talking wrestling, just general wrestling stuff. I definitely want to talk general wrestling. I'll tell you what's on my mind is that Mid-South Pride, baby. Yeah, August 26th. We got some big things coming up. I'm very excited about that. Yeah, I mean, give me about 5 or 10 minutes. I definitely think we could throw you on and talk about some current events. I think Alan Michaels is coming on. So, yeah. We could definitely I'll definitely throw you on here in about maybe 5-10 minutes. I think we're going to just talk wrestling tonight because, we're not really a sports station. I mean, at this point, I hate to say it, but Vince ain't going nowhere near AEW, so Shane's a one-trick pony. And also, I have a question here. What do you guys all think Shane does? What does he add to AEW? We know that the viewership is declining. We know that they don't have a TV deal still. So what does Shane McMahon add to AEW? And Shane McMahon's got to be what? in his 50s, 55, maybe something like that. So he's not really going to be an in-ring competitor. So what would Shane McMahon, for everybody in the chat, add that maybe AEW is lacking? That's, I think, a question people tonight. Yeah, how you doing, my brother? I see all the Breakpoint updates on TikTok, Instagram, and I'm trying to keep up. So would you say that he would be somebody that would write some of the storylines? Would he be a character? What do you think he would be? Creative. Yeah, I mean, creative. He could be creative. I think that that's obviously something that, it's a possibility, but does he help AEW stem the tide? I mean, AEW still doesn't have a TV deal. I mean, their television deal runs out at the end of the year. So where are they going? Also, apparently, Britt was not happy. MJF and Will Ospreay taking an hour on Dynamite. They did have a long segment the other day. I did start watching AEW again. I did like the Bryan Danielson Swerve Strickland segment. I did like the end of the show. It got to MJF's girlfriend, which is who that's the reporter, right? The interviewer, Alicia Tout, fellow Canadian. And MJF went and confronted Baker in the women's locker room. It's a pretty much he said, she said, typical politics, typical stuff in the wrestling world. Also, I could see him having a faction. Yeah, I guess Shane to be creative. Okay, but let me ask you the open-ended question. If Shane goes to AEW, does that mean Shane has an interest in buying a percentage of the company? Because we know the McMahon worth, right? We know the McMahon net worth. So would that mean that Shane McMahon is potentially at all in any way coming in as an investor? I would love to know that for the audience. And maybe I'll let you pop on here, Nicholas, in about 5 minutes. But I want to let the people in the chat work that in first. I mean, what do you all think about that? And I mean, can AEW turn the corner? Because what is AEW averaging now? 500,000 viewers or a little less than that? They used to average 1 million when Punk was there. Okay, let me get to Andre. And please follow Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling on Instagram. Check them out on YouTube. Yes, if he can really develop some really good storylines and not implement himself into big moments, they can be a good competitor. Hasn't that been Tony Khan's problem? Tony Khan has basically been a meddler. Tony Khan has basically interjected himself when he said he wouldn't. So that's an interesting point. Shane adds experience in the business. That's about it. Given the creative over there and Tony's super Mark attitude, I don't see it doing much good. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with that because I feel like AEW so far down the rabbit hole that how do you go and gain that momentum back that you lost? Everybody piled on Impact, but Impact always still, for a long period of time, always averaged that steady number of about 1 million, close to 1 million, even 1 million and change in the viewers. AEW, what we were talking about them, and what were they, 750,000, 800,000 to start the year, right? And what are they now? 500, right? I mean, somebody will correct me. Shane and his dad haven't been on speaking terms. Oh, is that accurate? Is that something that is confirmed? Okay, that maybe explains a little bit of why Shane's on his own. I would say so. It doesn't look like he's coming back to WWE. Shane needs to run things behind the scene. Yeah, he doesn't need to be in the ring at this point. I mean, Shane McMahon is 50-plus years old. There's really no reason for him to be in a ring at this point. There's really nothing that would qualify him for any. And also the last time he was in the ring, I mean, didn't he have that incident at WrestleMania? That was the last time we saw him in a ring. So there's really no point for that. Nicholas Crenton, I sent you a link on Instagram. So if you want to check your Instagram, the link is there for you. Also, let's see. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just think, to me, AEW, I feel it's too little too late. If they had brought Shane McMahon in 2 years ago when they were still averaging 1 million, I think that would be, because let's be honest, Mercedes Moné they signed. Mercedes Moné has done nothing for the ratings there. Their ratings are in the toilet. Their ratings I don't know. To me, I think what's more interesting right now for everybody in the chat is the TNA WWE relationship. That to me is cool. That to me is kind of what we talk about on Sportswire. All wrestling matters, open collaboration. Let me ask everybody here in the chat, for those who are going to watch SummerSlam, do you see any title changes? We saw the tag titles change hands tonight, but do you see, let's say, Tiffany Stratton cashing in? Do you see Rhea coming back and winning the women's title again? Let me know what you think in the chat. Let me get to TBK here. At this point, honestly, I think it's just a statement from Shane saying I'm going to be as far removed from my father's image. And yeah, I mean, that's a good point, because if he's not, according to Crenson, he's not in with his father, it really wouldn't make any sense for him to be associated with WWE. And WWE's got such a hierarchy that it wouldn't make any sense. I just don't know what he brings to the table other than like an appearance. Because let's be honest, AEW had Flair for what? I don't know, 7 months, 8 months. They didn't even do anything with Flair. I mean, so why would Shane be any different? Yeah, Joe Henry's definitely becoming a star. Joe Henry's definitely a big name. And now, what do you guys think about any surprises? Anybody coming in? I mean, anybody you think that'll make a surprise entrance tomorrow, or something that'll surprise people? Do you see the Intercontinental title changing hands? Let me bring up my buddy Nicholas Crenson. Nicholas Crenson, what's the good word, my friend? Obviously, you look like you've been from maybe Sinister, but let me get to a couple of comments and I'll bring you in the conversation. I see Gunther winning and the world title, possibly Nia Jax, or does Stratton cash in? That's kind of the big debate. Roman and Jimmy return. Good point, Roman and Jimmy. And let me get to Andre. Nia Jax is going to dominate Bayley unless they run something stupid like Tiffany botching an interference, which would cause Bayley to retain the title. Nicholas Crenson, you are a champion, but you wanted to talk about some current events in the world of wrestling. And so what do you think happens in SummerSlam? You have any surprises? You have anything you think pops in coming up?
So, obviously...
You got to put your volume up.
Oh, okay.
Volumes, you got Jovi's problem last night. You got while you fix that. I mean, Bayley, I don't see Nia Jax winning tomorrow. I mean, Randy's got a fair point on that. I think Gunther, all signs indicate that something's going to happen with the Judgment Day tomorrow. I think that makes a lot of sense. Okay, Nicholas Crenson, you're there now. Nicholas Crenson. Okay, I'm going to move on to some comments while he fixes that. I mean, and does anybody see Braun Breaker winning the IC title? I think that would be a big moment. Did you guys like the Bloodline winning the tag titles tonight? What did you guys think about that? Gargano's in his hometown, and Gargano winds up taking the L. Did you guys like that? Also, let me get to TBK while Nicholas Crenson, who fixes his audio if he can. No potential surprises until you maybe consider Zilla Fatu a surprise. Other than Roman potentially making a return, the only other possibility is The Rock. Yeah, The Rock is always in the cards, or do they wait long enough for The Rock? Nicholas Crenson, are you with us now? Nicholas Crenson.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you, but you're a little muffled. I hear you. Let's see what you can bring, because your audio still sounds rough. Let's go ahead. What do you think on WWE right now?
On WWE, right now, I am obviously the obvious answer for SummerSlam for Cody and Solo. Cody has to retain. Solo is like, this is a good litmus test to see how Solo can do in a main event spot, but it's not him getting that spot yet.
Do you see Solo as a top guy, or is he just renting the spot until the big names come back? Like TBK says, a Rock potentially is an outside shot, or a Roman Reigns. Is Solo renting the spot right now to keep it warm?
Kind of, but also this is his, like, kind of a test just to see how he does, because I think he does have that potential to have that spot down the line, but not quite yet.
Okay. And did you like the tag titles changing hands? Gargano's in his hometown, takes the loss. People always feel hometown guy should get the win, but Bloodline gets the tag belts tonight. Do you like that?
I thought it was a really good match, and honestly, you want to give the idea that the Bloodline could take everything. You can't just have to go into SummerSlam and be like, well, they lost the tag titles, so
have obvious qualification and no contest where it kind of cliffhanger for tomorrow. Hometown guys in his hometown takes the L.
Yeah.
Okay, so you liked it. Okay. Braun should win. They're setting up an old bloodline reunion with Roman, Jay, Jimmy, and Sammy. So you're telling me, what do you think about that? Are we going to see a bloodline versus bloodline? Oh, to me, that sounds like NWO Wolfpack, NWO Black and White. Is that the direction we're going in here right now, or what?
I don't know if we will see Sammy be part of it because there's also one more family member that hasn't signed yet, or actually a couple besides Scylla.
There's a lot of them though. If you're really going to go down the road, they could probably just have a WWE roster based on the Inoue family and the underlings on that. Let's be honest.
Yeah, like the one that I know he just finished up with New Japan is Tama's little brother Hikuleo.
Okay.
Okay. And also,
what do you think about The Rock's daughter? What would you think about Nia Jax down the road if we're going to really go down that road with the family, because they're a part of the family?
I don't really think you need to do anything with them in the family, because here's the thing with that is, they could have, like, as soon as they re-signed Naomi, they could have put her with the bloodline. Hell, they could have put her with the bloodline, like, to begin with, because her and Jimmy are married.
Good point. It's Bloodline Civil War games. Sami Zayn, who's definitely in the Owen Hart territory with the Nation. Yeah, go ahead. What do you like that or not like that?
I kind of do, but I also Braun needs to beat Sammy for the title tomorrow, for the IC title.
Right.
But my reason isn't because, well, one, Braun deserves it, but I honestly think Sammy should be in the world title picture. Looking at some of his promos he's done lately,
he's not going to be in it though. You know that he's not at the moment. He's been in it. Yes, I agree with you. He had a great match. He had what a crowd that he got behind him in Montreal. But I just think with the current situation, if he's taking the L tomorrow against Braun Breaker, and let's say, as you say, or maybe some other people say, Gunther is going to win the belt tomorrow, is he a viable challenger?
I honestly do not think Gunther's going to win.
Oh, and why would you disagree with, let's say, some of the people in the chat like Randy Dillon?
He doesn't need to win at SummerSlam. The victory, giving the world title is great, but think about this. Who benefits more from winning that match?
Well, Priest's run as champion has been, obviously, it's not been much. It's really been, if you want to talk about the definition, I've said this, a quintessential transition champion. He seems like the guy. His run has basically been a side note compared to, obviously, Drew and what's going on there with Punk. Rollins has returned. Rollins is interjected into that. And then also, even the Judgment Line storyline itself, Priest has kind of been, like I said, a side dish, more or less. So, there is a point that on a storyline basis, he really isn't much of a long-term champion. So,
plus, here's the other thing. Yes, SummerSlam would be a great place to do the title change, but an even better place to do the title change for Gunther is in Berlin.
True, but okay. But could you build, though, that Priest loses tomorrow, Rhea loses tomorrow, and then the Judgment Day kind of has now their own kind of recalibration?
That is actually interesting, because a lot of people are saying, that Dom, has been saying for months that Dom is going to end up turning on Rhea, and then Finn also would turn on the Judgment Day. I don't see Dom being the one to turn. I do see Finn and JD being the ones to turn.
Well, it ain't going to be Carlito who's going to cause the match to go one way or another. Let me get to some comments, because people want to come back and comment on this. Braun can't lose twice in a row. Why build Braun like you did to have him lose twice? I think that's why a lot of people feel that Sammy's not going to retain tomorrow. His run, it was a feel-good moment. He's definitely, I think he's there to elevate Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker is a guy we spoke about, I want to say about a month ago, when we talked about John Cena and his I guess you want to say retirement tour next year, and he's definitely a candidate that could be a guy to either wrestle John Cena or potentially have a last match with him. And what better way to kind of fully elevate Braun Breaker and to have him win tomorrow in convincing fashion? That's one way to go about it. To be perfectly honest, I think if anyone deserves it, it should be Sheamus. He deserves to be a Grand Slam champ. Yeah, definitely 2 years ago he came up close, but an absolute workhorse for WWE. But the problem is WWE, there's no momentum there. It seems that he could get it. I think I know what you're talking about in winning the Intercontinental title, if I'm not mistaken. But unfortunately, I don't know. And Sheamus has got to be what now? 45, 46? Something like that, right? He's got to be in his 40s. I mean, he's been in WWE a long time. I definitely agree with you. He's been, when we look at all-time guys in WWE, he's right up there in terms of number of matches, years service. But I don't know. I don't know where they go there with him. Let me get to some more comments. I'll come back to that. If Gunther doesn't win, then what's next for him? It's a good point. Do you just, if you don't have him win tomorrow, does he still feud with Priest?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Like I said, yeah, SummerSlam, great. Bash in Berlin in his home area of the Germany, Austria area, that would get an even bigger reaction.
Okay, well, potentially, but if you have a moment to change the Judgment Day, you might have that storyline to write itself. Let me get to a couple of comments. Him losing twice is what he needs, honestly. So interesting. Tell me why you think him losing twice would be good. Do you think that the character can come back from that? And what would the character do from that when he's basically a guy that is in the vein of a Goldberg, in the vein of a Ryback previously, guys that run through opponents? Interesting. I'd like to hear more about that. Something will happen with Finn and Dom that will causing Ray to lose. Give me like 5 or 10 minutes. How is your phone good though? Because I've been having audio problems with guys. So yeah, maybe in about 5 or 10 minutes, I can swing you on for a little bit. So you think though that Priest retains though?
Yes.
And what do you think happens in the women's title matches?
Liv retains in the World Women's Title match. Liv retains probably due to some sort of shenanigans with Finn or Dom, and then in the WWE Women's Title match, I see I know they just got Tiffany that new briefcase, so they might wait a while on it, but I could also see Bayley retaining and Tiffany cashing in after the match.
And what do you think happens then and you think Cody retains over Solo? Just to confirm.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask.
I think I think everybody's expecting it is that Roman is going to cost Solo the title.
And what about Logan Paul and LA Knight?
LA Knight, just because Logan's had it long enough, and you can give it to LA Knight and give him that kind of. Doesn't even have to be a long run. You could give LA Knight the title for like a month or two.
Well, but isn't he in a similar spot than, let's say, a Braun Breaker, where he could use the win to where LA Knight's he's been on the peripheral edge, but hasn't quite won the big one? Then some would say, well, he doesn't really need it. But Logan Paul kind of wrote the story where he's had 2 title defenses in 2.5 months or something like that, or he's had two defenses as champion, and it kind of, the story writes itself out that LA Knight gets a win here. What do you think on some of that?
Honestly, I agree. Like LA Knight. Honestly, I remember at the beginning of the year, the talk was LA Knight versus Logan Paul to take the title. But they struck gold with KO and Randy Orton, so they switched things up and made the WrestleMania triple threat and kind of pushed LA Knight off for a bit. Plus, they also struck gold during the beginning of the year with LA and AJ for a bit.
Is there any other things that you see happening tomorrow night? Because I want to ask you some thoughts on AEW. I'm going to bring TBK on here in about 5 minutes. We were supposed to have Alan Michaels, but unfortunately, well, that's how it goes. The show must go on. But anything else you want to say on SummerSlam that we should keep an eye on?
I'm not sure if it'll be at SummerSlam or if it'll be at the Raw, but another reason why I'm going to go with Breaker for taking the IC from Sammy is I'm seeing them going with a program for the IC title between Braun and Ilya Dragunov.
Okay. Let me get to a few comments. Want to say hello to my buddy who's going to be here Monday night, right after Monday Night Raw. Comatose, the triple champion, although in BTW, RTG refers to him as only a 2-belt champion, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about what happened at BTW Heat 8. Very successful show. Very much excited about that. Let me get to some more comments, and we'll see Comatose here after Monday Night Raw on Monday. Braun, super overzealous. If he loses again, maybe he'll learn to add more intelligence to his arsenal. What do you say on that?
Braun is actually a very, very intelligent individual in the ring, and it's kind of scary. But yeah, he kind of has that overzealous nature as well.
Okay, well then he's not wrong in that you give him an opportunity to take a step back and refigure out what you need to do better, and you go from there. Be real. Nobody buys Logan Paul as a wrestler. TBK says not true at all. I'm not a fan of Logan, but he's been endorsed by the guys running WWE and Shawn Michaels and HH. Where do you fall on Logan Paul?
He's done questionable things as a human being, but in the ring...
If you hear what's on social media, I mean, I try, somebody, I think, were you the one that asked me last week, do I read wrestling news? But I mean, it was on X. He might have said something, and it sounded like this is the case that you probably shouldn't have said anything. What's the old adage? If you know you're not supposed to say something, don't say it. Then there was something else I saw at X today with Hulk Hogan. I saw something with Hulk Hogan and like a Nazi supporter or something. I don't know. I don't even. This is why I don't read the spoiler results. This is why I don't read a lot of this stuff. But it's what it is here. Let me get to some more comments before I change some guests here in a second. Tiffany needs more time before to cash in. How long is the time you would give Tiffany until she cashes in? It's a question. I'd be curious. LA Knight's time to prove to be a top draw. Yeah, I think LA Knight to me is more of. See, that's why I think LA Knight's going to get the title because I think he is due for a moment. See, I think LA Knight, regardless of what you think about Logan Paul, LA Knight's been on the edge of the main event scene for almost a year now? I mean, he's been one of the top merchandise drawers. Shouldn't it be time for him to get a belt? I think if there's anybody that deserves a chance to have a moment, wouldn't it be LA Knight? Because you're not getting him the world title anytime soon. I mean, wouldn't a singles title give him a chance down the road to maybe give him that opportunity to have an opening for it?
Also, before, you mentioned we were going to talk a little bit about AEW. Before we do that, I also wanted to talk about, NXT has been really, really good lately. Especially after, bringing in Ethan Page. You've got the whole deal with the crossover deal with TNA and Joe Hendry. And you got the reuniting of the Rascals, MSK, of Wentz, Wesley, and Trey Miguel, which honestly was one of the most entertaining things about Impact a few years back, and also seeing that dynamic. And Wesley is actually somebody I think when he gets up to the main roster is going to be one of the top guys.
Like you said, about 3 years ago was a hot name. About three plus years ago, give or take.
And he's also he's basically HBK's pet project. He's, I think it was Michaels that gave Wes the nickname the Cardiac Kid.
And we're joined here by TBK. How you doing, my friend? Nice to see you. I'm going to move this off the screen. I'm going to bring you back on, and then I'm going to join you into the conversation first. Let me get to a couple of comments. Mr. Hardcore is my buddy. He is also going to be here at the end of the month, but he'll have Mr. Anomaly here on Sunday night. Hope everyone's having a great and relaxing night. Yeah, I mean, we're just hanging out, talking WWE, talking wrestling in general, and I don't like how Trick is being done. Anybody have a thought on that before I change into I think add somebody else on here? What do you guys think about that?
So with Trick, him, losing the title the way he did was both brilliant and beautiful, just because you need, and it's the whole idea of they're getting ready to move NXT from USA to the CW, and the best place to do have Trick get the title back is on the premiere of the CW.
You agree with that, TBK? Obviously, WWE is getting ready to change networks. NXT goes to CW, in about 2 months, right? We're looking at October. SmackDown's going over to USA around the same time, and you're going to have this interesting period for about 3 months where SmackDown and Raw are going to be on the same time. Does any of that stuff matter? Does networks even matter anymore in wrestling? I mean, where people watch? I feel like, I don't know, does it matter?
I mean, right now, the Netflix thing is intriguing, obviously, because we've gotten teases saying that there could be, them going back to cutting out a lot of the PG stuff. But other than that, Netflix is kind of in some hot water.
Yeah, I did see some of that. I did see some of that on different headlines. I mean, for you guys out there, I think you're alluding to more of like an attitude, maybe looser kind of style. We know for the last, I would say, dozen plus years, WWE has been more of like, I don't want to say it's Disney, but more of a neutral based product. I mean, we've seen some overtures, obviously the whole Wyatt situation, the Liv storyline. We've seen a little bit more tipping in the waters, even the whole Bailey Nia Jax thing. But do you guys want to see more of a WWE type attitude product? Does it matter? What do you guys think on some of that?
I mean, I think that WWE is so hot right now that if you're looking for that and they give it to you, cool. But they don't really need it. I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I like guys who can put across what they're trying to say without having to be, without having to cuss every 5 seconds, without having to yell every 5 seconds. I mean, if you look at WWE over the past year and a half, they cannot be more on fire. They've absolutely, since WrestleMania and before leading up till WrestleMania, I mean, at this point, I think you're just belly aching. What more could you ask for?
Yeah, I mean, I think WWE's been, extremely successful. You've got a lot of excitement. You've reinvigorated the bloodline. You've gotten everybody wanting Cody. They've got him as champion. You've got this interesting storyline with Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. You've got Judgment Day. You've got Gunther, who a lot of people have been excited about his wrestling ability. You got the Wyatts, which and a lot of people have been excited about. You've got guys like Chad Gable, who've been developed. I mean, Sami Zayn's gotten a nice little run here as a champion. I mean, you've got Randy Orton back. Yeah, I mean, I guess wrestling fans get spoiled sometimes. Wrestling fans are like kids in a candy store. They've got to have every single thing. But I think WWE, by and large, it's funny you said that because we talk, and some people would say, WWE, Cody is champion. It's not what I wanted, or who's got to come in and do this. But then you go over on the other side with AEW, and I'm like, we were talking about Shane McMahon. I don't even know what that adds for that company because that company's so far down the rabbit hole in terms of the amount of viewers it's lost. And I think somebody brought up, I don't know if it was Nicholas or Randy, about Britt Baker being suspended. And I mean, WWE, listen, nobody's perfect, but they even got the Impact relationship. Who would have guessed that, right? Who would have guessed TNA and WWE would be working together? I mean, TNA really, in the last quarter century, is the only company that's really been a legitimate competitor to WWE. I know AEW's had their moments, but TNA was the one that actually went, I know it's laughable to say, but for a few minutes, they went one-on-one with WWE. They were on Monday for a brief period. They drew $1.5 million for a little while, and they actually signed a lot of guys that WWE lost. I mean, to me, I don't know what wrestling fans, you just can't please everybody, but compared it to AEW, like I said, I think they're too far down the rabbit hole, and I don't know why fans Just can't be.
I don't necessarily know if I completely agree with that. Like,
Why?
yeah, their ratings aren't, that great, but also we're in a day and age where TV ratings are only a small part of the picture now. You
Yeah,
also have,
but they've dropped substantially though. It's not
yeah,
like
it's understandable, but it's also you got to look at like you look at successive companies. You also have to look at like their social media platforms. The fact that they are in discussion about moving AEW to instead of be on TNT to be on like Max, which that would actually I think help them a lot more. Just because I think streaming is a better market for wrestling than pay-per-views nowadays.
I see, and I see TBK shaking his head, and I kind of on this one go with TBK a little bit. I think it is important for wrestling to be on a network, whether it's cable or an over the air, because I do think that there is maybe not from a rating standpoint, from a public perception that they're on some type of sports. I think is a different ball game because sports fans will find it, and there's other things you do out there with it. But I think wrestling, because of the amount of money that would be generated from those advertisements, I still think that you need to have some presence that's on a network, whether it's a cable or whether an over-the-air network. I mean, listen, NXT is going to CW. I think that's still a pretty big deal. CW is kind of reinvented themselves into almost like a mini TNT in a way, and I think that that's a huge thing. But I don't know. I mean, TBK shaking said, I'll come back to you in a second, but I want to get to Randy. AEW's problem is they can't keep their attendants interested. They have great matches, but no build and no reason to watch week after week. You want to say something, TBK?
I'd say no build in some of the matches. Like there are a lot of matches that have no build, but there's also there have been a lot of really good stories in AEW. Mm-hmm. The one that comes to mind, the one constant thing that I think has been freaking phenomenal this whole time in AEW is Hangman Adam Page. He has been one.
I know the Jeff Jarrett storyline's been good, but I want to give TBK a shot because I saw him. I want to say a couple things. Jump in.
Yeah. So let's be fair, right? I think that the Max deal was AEW's response to Raw going to Netflix. That's number one. Number two, let's be honest here, man. Streaming as a whole, it's still a very new concept. There's a bunch of old head fans out there that are used to turning on their TVs and watching Monday Night Raw and watching Friday Night SmackDown. You're going to have to start convincing people now, hey, you got to get this streaming thing. And they're like, why would I do that when I can just turn my TV on?
Yeah, habits.
And the last thing that I'm going to say is AEW is making headlines for all the wrong reasons. They're making headlines behind the scenes. If the thing with Britt Baker, the thing with MJF, the thing with Jungle Boy, the thing with CM Punk, WWE is making headlines where it counts on TV.
I think that's a good point because AEW, they've had the Jungle Boy thing. We've seen AEW with now Britt Baker. We've seen AEW with the Punk, obviously the whole thing with Punk and, the Young Bucks. And it's been a constant negative. Sure, they're getting engagements. I mean, the social media they're still a big company.
Well, you know what they say, Tom. I mean, any attention is attention nonetheless. But
it's
after
good, but the product. But see, I agree with you. But the product hasn't benefited from that. The product of viewership, and I think I'm with Randy also, is that their attendance is not there. The figures, if I would agree with you, Mr. Crenson, in the fact that attendance was still stabilized. If they were drawing 4 or 5, they're not even getting 1,500 people in certain shows. Randy, they were in Randy's neck of the woods and they struggled to break 2,000 people over there. I mean, I think that's also an indicator is how many people are paying to see you. I mean, you want to say something, Nicholas?
Yeah, like somebody actually pointed out, I was watching Observer a while back, and Brian Alvarez actually pointed out the attendance thing, and one thing he mentioned that they don't do, and it's one thing that a lot of wrestling companies should do, is they don't really advertise much of what they're doing in the towns.
Well,
And
what you're supposed to do is go and advertise directly,
yeah,
like
like
you do
they'll,
with
they might say, "Oh, these people are going to be there," but you got to also kind of give people an idea of like something is going to happen. Like some of their best attendance shows are ones where they have had a lot of hype.
Well, they
compared
had Sting.
to others.
They had listen, Sting's thing in Greensboro. I mean, that was. I mean,
Yeah.
listen, people weren't going for the AEW show. They were going for the one match, the one thing. You had Mercedes Moné in Boston. She's from Boston. People were going for that moment. There's no question that they drew a lot of people from that. Last year's Wembley, I think, was one of those special moments. But other than that, when AEW goes to these shows, I think the indicator is attendance. I agree. If you want to go, ratings aren't the indicator, fine. But the ratings, the attendance is similar to the ratings. It's just not good. It's just not there. It's just, they don't capitalize on things. They brought Monet in. She was supposed to be this big draw. She's a movie star. She's got a following. She's got the looks. She's got music now. And she hasn't helped the ratings. Every person they bring in, I mean, since Punk was the one person that they had that was giving them that Hogan in his prime, like, I'm going to go out. Now I got to see casual fans. Undertaker, maybe his last few years when he'd make the, one or two appearances, one or two matches, and he was their guy. And he doesn't work for them anymore.
Yeah.
Everybody else they've brought in, I mean, Adam Copeland, let's not even go there. They bring him in. He's on the shelf. Who the heck knows? I mean, okay, Christian's done some good character work, but a lot of these other people they bring in, Saraya, Tony Storm's done okay, but Tony Storm's not a household draw. I mean, Mark Henry doesn't work for the company anymore. You brought Paul White in ages ago. What did he have? 2 matches with the company? I mean, okay, Danielson's contract expired. I mean, Danielson, I don't think he moved the needle for them. He was supposed to have moved the needle when he came in, because he came in, I think, right after Punk, if I'm not mistaken. He was supposed to have moved the needle. Ospreay, they just signed Ospreay, right? Ospreay, I know from the British scene. He is a big deal. They brought him in. He didn't move the needle. So what do you say, Nicholas Crenton?
Honestly, Ospreay, I think, has the potential to do it. It's just like you don't expect.
Skills aren't there, though. He's not a talker. I hate
No,
to say it.
He is a talker. His promos have been actually pretty good of late. It's just like you need to find that right mix for him.
But they bring all these people in, and it doesn't move the needle. They've signed countless WWE names, and their viewership has dropped, other than when they had Punk. And he did move the needle, and they had problems. And again, I'm not 100% a CM Punk guy, but he did give them something that they lack right now. I mean, I don't know. Let me get to a couple comments from Randy, and I'll let TBK jump in. Tony Storm and Mariah, yes, that's been a good storyline. AEW dropped the ball with Jack Perry. The Elite versus AEW. Yeah, a fair point. AEW are thinking of bringing in Lashley and MVP to revamp the Hurt Business. But would that move the needle? Bobby Lashley's got to be what? Near 50? MVP's 50 plus. So that means, are you bringing in Shelton Benjamin? Are you bringing Benjamin, Lashley, and MVP together? And what do you guys think about that? Does that do anything?
I don't know, just because of the fact that, like, I know MVP just recently showed up at Bloodsport in GCW, so I'm not sure if he's going to be showing up in AEW right away, especially considering that GCW right now seems to also have a working relationship with WWE.
Shayna Baszler, right? But I don't. But you're not getting Bobby Lashley and MVP, gentlemen, from 2 years ago. Peak, 2-3 years ago. Bobby Lashley 3 years ago was a main event figure. He really hasn't been a main event figure in WWE in what? 2 years, 2.5 years.
Yep.
What would that do for AEW? Now, it's a legitimate question. If they want to sign him, sign them both. That's great, but what would it do?
It does absolutely nothing, and I want to touch back on something that you had said earlier, Tom, where you were absolutely right. I have not pulled any punches when it comes to my thoughts and opinions on AEW.
Go for it.
I absolutely only got that pay-per-view because it was Sting's final farewell. I am a Sting fan. I am not an AEW fan. So for one night, they got my money and never again. And they have not been interesting enough to get my money since. Now, you have a guy like Lashley, you have a guy like MVP, you have a guy like Ricochet, who is also rumored to possibly end up at AEW, more than likely.
He fits into their wavelength. Yeah, all right, I agree with you on that.
Okay, so Ricochet has got talent oozing out of his ass as far as in ring. On the mic, he's boring as shit. Bobby Lashley is still a physical specimen. There's no denying. On the mic, he's boring as shit. These guys are talented, but they are not over. It doesn't matter. You could put them in New Japan. You could put them anywhere you could think of. It doesn't matter if they're not moving the needle, and they're just not. I listen. Will Ospreay, for what he may lack on the mic, and I agree with you, Tom. That's another guy who's got talent in the ring oozing out of him like crazy. He has had some absolutely phenomenal matches. And I would even go as far as to say that if you want to talk about a guy who's carrying them on their back match-wise, it's most definitely Ospreay. I have seen him have some matches where I've sat there and gone, holy shit, it feels like I'm looking at Shawn. Okay, but other than that, if you would have asked me 2-3 years ago, I couldn't even tell you who the hell Will Ospreay was. And that's not, maybe that's me just being ignorant, but
I think that's been a topic I've heard from other people. I think Bischoff even mentioned it. The American wrestling fan's not going to know what he's done overseas. I mean, I know it because I've covered British wrestling. I'm in that world. I know what a big deal he has been. But the American fan, what they're doing, and Bischoff talks about this all the time, is that they're going into their base, which is no question, there's a base, but their base is narrow. It's a narrow base. I mean, I know the old adage is you got to go to your base. If you don't have a base, you don't have anything, but their base is very narrow. Let me get to a couple comments here. Yeah, Ospreay has potential. He came in AJ to TNA, but there's something missing. Ricochet goes to AEW, has a match with Ospreay after that. Yeah, see, but that's, and I agree with that. And I think that's AEW's problem. Yeah. Everybody they bring in, they get other than Punk, because Punk was a generational draw. Punk sells himself. Whether you like CM Punk or not, he sells himself. These other people they did well, and I hate to say this, they did well, and make no mistake, I am no WWE 100% homer. I definitely appreciate every company out there, but I like to give everybody a fair stake. WWE, though, they were products of the WWE machine. They were in that machine. They were in that vacuum. Adam Copeland. Let's not even go there. Monet is kind of, I mean, we talked about Paul White even. Paul White's this large attraction. What did they do with him? Have meet and greets? Mark Henry, they had him on commentary. I mean, all these guys that they've brought in, and Cody Rhodes left the company. A company that he started. That was his thing. He left that company. To me, when we look back, there's two things to why AEW is where they are. Number one, I think Cody Rhodes leaving sent a lot of shockwaves. And secondly, the whole Punk thing. I think that those two things, we look at those moments, sure, Sting temporarily gave them some momentum. They signed Flair, but even Flair, what did they do with Flair? They did nothing with Flair. You should have Flair every week out there talking. I agree Flair is probably not the draw he once was. Flair did well. The WWE, covered, things with him. But that's why I go back to the point. Could Shane McMahon do anything to help stem the tide for AEW? That's why I asked that question.
It's like I said, the only thing that, the two things that McMahon brings is, number one, the name, because regardless and albeit, you still have a McMahon signed to the opposition. So, that's a big deal. And he brings experience. Now he's not I use the term talent loosely because Yeah, okay, he had some matches, but
He's not a wrestler. Yeah,
he's
he's not a wrestler. He's not a pure wrestler. Yep, I agree.
So he brings experience in the name, and right now that name is mud. So
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, and the only other thing, I threw it out there. Would he not buy into the company? Would that, because they're listen, the cons aren't making any money. Listen, make no mistake, the cons are not making money off this. I think the TV deal is another big watershed moment. They don't have a TV deal. They don't have a TV deal. Why is that they don't have a TV deal? They can talk about, the window, but I know how it works. I know it works just from doing on a very small level this. You didn't have a TV deal. You got 4 months left to a TV deal. That's where they were going to break even. Listen, what were they talking about? 150 million or 200 million, right, a year or something like that for the TV deal. That's money that they need to probably break even. To the fact that they don't have a TV deal, if they don't go to Discovery, TNT, that whole network thing, it's got to be a lesser spectrum they'd be going to next. Where would they show up? They're not going to USA. Because WWE still got the relationship for now with Peacock. They got 2 more years with the Peacock deal. So that's not going to happen because Peacock's going to fight to at least keep the streaming deal. They're going to fight. I don't know if they'll have the money. They're going to fight for that. So we know that's out of the loop. They're not going to a CW because NXT is there. Fox, I don't think is staying in the wrestling business. AEW has less ratings than WWE. That's not going to work. So where would AEW land? I mean, the only option, I guess, that would make sense is Spike TV. I mean, that would be the only one, if that's a thing.
They could go on Sci-Fi.
Actually, there is one thing I think kind of hurts AEW, and it's something that I've heard is that Tony Khan, the booking style is that he kind of books it like Japanese wrestling in the sense that they focus more so on the in-ring than they do the storylines, and that I think does hurt them. But they've also had they've had really good stories in AEW. Like I said, Hangman Page since the start has been involved in probably some of the best story.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I watched the last 2 weeks and there was things I liked. I liked the Swerve Strickland, Bryan Danielson thing. I was invested in that. I liked the whole Jarrett thing. There are things I'm invested in. I'm not crazy about 50-something-year-old Jericho with a title. I got to be honest. I just, to me, I don't see what the purpose is on that. But I think the TV deal is still important to them because how do they not have a TV deal? To me, how do they not have a TV deal? Somebody out there in the chat, I see Randy's here. My buddy Il Drago's here. I think that is an important thing for the conversation. Let me get to a couple comments here. I see Il Drago. Yes. How you doing, my brother? AEW needs to put more spotlight on Swerve. He's built his name. Yes, and he was one of the guys that was built up from the ground up. And I think that's a good point. And also, Shane can only do anything if Tony Khan allowed him to, but he's meeting with Tony Khan. I mean, there has to be something there. Am I missing something? He doesn't meet Tony Khan just for a chat. I mean,
yeah. It's like I said. I mean, it's a definite. You can't say it's not a definite buzz pool. It is.
Absolutely.
It's a buzz pool, and dude, at this point, I don't think it's so much that Tony Khan is booking these like a Japanese promoter. I think Tony Khan's problem is that he's booking these matches like a fan.
Yeah, I think, and Bischoff talks about that, and I think that's, not to compare, but I always say all the time on Sportswire, when we come up with all the stuff in our backyard underground circuit, I'm not a wrestler. I'm not in it. So I think it's the same premise that he's coming in and he's doing things that he liked as a fan. But I think, listen, Shane McMahon going there would get a tremendous amount of reaction from people. People would watch it the first show, but then what?
Yeah.
Then what?
Right.
I don't know. That to me, that's what AEW consistently has a problem with. Then what? What do you do with AEW?
They are phenomenal. They are phenomenal at creating buzz moments, and they are horrible with longevity.
Yeah, because they bring people in they get the short-term buzz,
Yep.
And then I was listing off a whole bunch of people that they brought in. We talked about Mercedes Moné. Okay, Soraya they brought in 2 years ago. That was basically, I don't know. That hasn't really gone anywhere. We talked about Paul White, Adam Copeland. Let's not even bring that up. And what a real has not done anything for that company. He talked about he was going to AEW. He was going to do this. He was going to do that. Bryan Danielson, I think has done okay in AEW, but he didn't move the needle from a ratings aspect. I mean, Christian's done good, but he's not moved the needle from a ratings aspect. I mean, Ospreay we just spoke about. Yeah, he's had great matches, but has Ospreay moved the needle other than outside their fan base? I mean, these are just a few. I mean, we can go and run down the list of more names. I mean, they brought in Lana, right? Didn't they bring in Lana for a period for a stint? That didn't go anywhere. Rusev, I mean, again, so even like Lashley, bringing in Lashley and MVP, you're not getting them right after their title run. If you would have got them 3 years ago, 2 years ago, yeah, I agree. That definitely moves the needle here. Let me get to some comments here. Shane, he's booking it all as a dream. Yes. Holy smokes. Is that V? Randy Dillon. Randy Dillon is in the chat. Yes, he is in the chat. Yes, he is definitely in the chat. And if you're here, hit the sub button. Omen Black would like to say hello. Jets Super Bowl. Maybe that'll be next week's show because the regular guys aren't here. Although I don't know when that'll be maybe during football season. At this point, we're really a wrestling station at this point, but we'll see. Maybe we'll talk sports next week. We'll see. Some of the guys are sick, but go ahead.
So I have actually a question. I want to get your guys' opinion on this.
Go for
Do you
it.
think that AEW has kind of telegraphed some of the results for All In?
Telegraphed in what way?
Well, I think with the stipulation added to Danielson and Swerve, a lot of people are expecting Danielson to win. And I'm also...
Like the contract situation?
Well, not just that, but it gives Danielson that big moment. And I don't see him keeping the title for long, because I kind of think what they might do, and this also means...
Fozzy says,
I know you. You were here yesterday, though. Give me your name again?
Oh, it's Fozzy.
Fozzy.
Well, good. That's the Fozzy some people like Mike more than the guy they see on AEW TV.
But the other one is Jack Perry and Darby. Like, I think what's gonna at least my headcanon, what I'm thinking is gonna happen is Jack Perry retains against Darby, Danielson beats Swerve, and then because Darby has the world title shot at Grand Slam in New York, it's going to be Darby and Danielson.
Forest Hills, yep. I don't know if I see Danielson. Should he get the belt though? That's my only thing. I think somebody said it in the chat. Swerve has been a good champion. I don't know if Danielson needs the moment. Did he win the AEW title once or no? Did he win the Ring of Honor title? Did he win the Ring of Honor
AEW title yet?
Okay, so, I don't know. I don't know.
Danielson could be coming to the end of the line, and if you want to throw him the bone and at least maybe stick the title on him, but I don't know at this point. I mean, Danielson has proved his worth. And to me, I gotta be honest. Danielson is a phenomenal in-ring talent, but dude is a fucking crybaby. He's had a reputation for being a crybaby. Like it seems like when he's not happy, he's ready to take the ball and go home.
My only thing with Danielson winning the title is I get the in the sun moment, but I'll follow it up in a different way. And I know Scooby's got a couple of comments. I want to get to Scooby. I want to say hello to Scooby. I want to say hello to a few other people. We'll hang out here for about 20, 25 minutes. We're with Nicholas Crenson and TBK. TBK is the host of the Be More Talkative podcast. You can catch that when that returns. Nicholas Crenson is one half of the IMF Hardcore Tag Team Champions. He'll also be in the ring a couple of times coming up. In fact, the next 2 weekends, he'll be in action. After this one, he'll be in action next weekend, Anniversary 3. He'll be in the ring in a triple threat match for the WC Interstate Championship against Sinister, Craven, Rage. Speaking of figures that are interesting in our circuit, yes, All Out, for the All Out Championship. I had that on my message, but the WC All-Out champion, and we'll certainly see if he gets worn out from Nicholas Crenson and Catalyst. He'll also be in the ring the following weekend as one half of the IMF Hardcore Tag Team Champions. I am the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally where all wrestling matters. I want to say hello to my friend Tristan. How you doing, Tristan? Nice to see you. I'm doing well. I'm doing well on a rather humid night here in New York. My goodness, it's been like 100% humidity here, but we're warming things up on Sportswire, even more hot. Let's not forget Sammy Guevara put in Ring of Honor since Mercedes showed up in AEW. Good point. John Jones. I don't know. John Jones, maybe. I'll come back to that. AEW has played their hand saying if Danielson loses, he retires. Well, that was my point. Are you guys convinced that Danielson really will retire? You know, all these guys in wrestling say they're going to retire. Everybody says I'm retiring. Wrestling is not like other sports where people say I'm done and they're really done. Wrestling, nobody's retired. I mean, how many times did Flair retire? I mean, think about it. How many times did this one retire? I remember years back, Hogan and Nash actually had a retirement match, and Nash lost the match. It was at Road Wild 99, and he came back like 3 months later. Are you guys convinced, really, hypothetically, that Bryan Danielson's really going to be done from the ring?
That's actually why I don't think he's going to lose to Swerve, because he's mentioned that he's not going to be full-time, but I don't see him completely retiring. Unless he has to, which... You know, you've heard, he's talked about his neck issues lately, but other than that, if it's just kind of storyline purpose with the neck issues, I don't see him completely retiring. And you kind of hit the nail on the head. Very few people truly retire in wrestling.
And what is Danielson? 40? Isn't his early 40s, right? Got to be early 40s.
Yeah.
In this sport, early 40s is like 28 in baseball and basketball. I mean, you know, guys are going out there and competing at a high level still. Realistically, I mean, look at Billy Gunn and Jeff Jarrett. Billy Gunn's got to be, 60-ish? Jarrett's not far behind him. Jericho's got to be not far behind. And those guys are still competing on a semi-regular level. So to me, I know Danielson's had a lot of injury issues, but I'm just not convinced that he's really going to retire.
Yeah, I don't know at this point. I mean, if it's his time, it's his time. But I mean, if he did quote unquote retire, like wrestler retire, I don't see him popping up anywhere else. I don't see him going to TNA or going back down to Ring of Honor for a spell or whatever.
Well, Khan owns Ring of Honor, and TNA is partnering with WWE. So yeah, there's nowhere else for him to go.
Unless WWE wanted to throw him the bone for the possible Hall of Fame nomination, maybe in, I don't know, 2-3 years. But as of right now, I mean, if he's content, maybe. If he's not, I mean, I don't know.
Okay, well, let me get to a couple comments here. Randy should be back. Some of the guys will be back next week. I think we will eventually do something in the regular Friday shows, so stay tuned for that. We're actually supposed to do something today, but Alan Michaels got stuck in traffic. Chris Pizzea is under the weather, and I mean, we're just talking wrestling at this point. I mean, as much as I would love Rob Maraska dearly, I mean, New York Mets baseball over wrestling. We're going to talk wrestling for a little while longer. So, no, this is no shade. It's just that's what we're known for. Zilla is here. It wouldn't be a night without Zilla. And I would take all three of you on at once. You could, but you're just a monkey. And, you know, that wouldn't be any fun, right? That wouldn't be any fun. But that's okay. We appreciate the people tuning in.
So
Go ahead.
I did hear somebody make a really weird idea is that have Danielson turn heel and join the Elite and give him the title for like a little bit. I still think he's going to win. I don't think he's going to turn heel. I see what I could see happening is he gets the title at All In. He successfully defends against Darby at Grand Slam. And if they're doing Wrestle Dream again in Seattle, you do Darby, Swerve, and Danielson in a triple threat.
And is Darby the hometown guy in Seattle?
All three of them are.
Right. Oh, Swerve is too. I knew Danielson was Washington, right? He's away from Seattle though, but I know Darby's Seattle guy. Okay, Nicholas is scared. I can tell. Well, I think I might know who this is. Okay, so the AEW stuff. I want to come back to one thing before we sign off, and I want to talk about CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, and Seth Rollins. I do want to spend time on that, and I wanted to save that purposely for last. What do you guys think happens there? I mean, that might be the most interesting thing that doesn't even need a title. What do you guys think happens there? Punk is finally having his first singles match since his WWE exit back in 2014, and Drew McIntyre and Punk, it's been the feud, and Seth Rollins, and we know the histories from social media with Punk and Rollins. And I mean, what do you guys think there?
So it's definitely the marquee. I'd say it overshadows the Cody and Solo even a little bit.
Where do you slot that on the card? What's such a hot match?
Oh gosh.
You put it as the opener to really get people worked up, or no?
You know what? I wouldn't, but that's a very WWE move, so I could
That's
totally.
why I said it. WWE is the type to put that match front and center first.
Yep, absolutely. You know what? I gotta be honest. I'm not happy with the Seth Rollins involvement. I think it's unnecessary. I get it. I know there's beef between Rollins and Punk, which it could be true for all I know. What the hell do I know? But I just think that those two have carried this so well on their own. To have a special guest referee, it's not necessary.
It's got, Undertaker, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels vibes written all over it there.
Yes. Like it's basically Seth is Shawn, Punk is Bret. No, actually, Drew is Bret and Punk is Taker.
Well, whatever who they might be, but what do you think happens here? Because shouldn't the logic then, based on that, is that Drew gets the win to go to Punk and Seth? Is that the way they're going to go with this, or do they keep going with the Punk Drew thing? What do you guys think on that?
It's like I just said.
Punk's return to the ring in over 10 years. I mean, logic would say he should get the win, but he's cost Drew a number of different times. So where do you go here? Because somebody needs a win.
Yeah. It's like I said, those two have done a phenomenal job on their own, building the heat. The social media heat has been insane. The promos between the two of them, it got personal with, Drew taking Larry's bracelet. I mean, it's like I said, I feel like I love Seth, but it's very unnecessary. And if they don't continue a match or a feud between these two that have had, if they stop it cold, if they just straight up throw a wrench in the gear, then why? All of it is just like, what was the point?
It's a good point. You want to say something, Nicholas, before we move on?
Yeah, and I agree. It's like you can't just do just this one match and be done with it. This story needs to drag on. It really does need to drag on. And there's a part of me that's like wondering if the whole Seth thing is like a red herring and he'll almost be a non-factor in the match. Like,
let me ask you guys this question. Punk in the ring, I know we saw him in AEW for a little bit. We haven't seen him in a WWE ring in a singles match in over a decade. What do you guys expect from him tomorrow? I know it's a big question. What do you expect from him? What does he have, out there? He hasn't wrestled that much in the past. I know he had a little bit of a stint in AEW, but what do we expect from him, and how long can he last before he's combustible? Because we know his injury history already.
So here's what I would say, and tell me if you follow.
Go for it.
Punk's ultimate goal is to have a WrestleMania moment. Yes.
Oh, I would think absolutely. I mean, he's got to get the WrestleMania match. Absolutely.
So I think SummerSlam shows whether or not he deserves it, whether or not he lives up to what he wants.
Well, yeah. Well, I think it's a matter of what his health is. I think that's the
Yeah,
question because this guy hasn't. I mean, it's really completely unknown. I mean, what he can bring in terms of being out there in the ring. And we know guys in WWE in the past, have been injury. Look at Goldberg, right? Goldberg go out there will be injured every match, and Punk is now what 45 now, so he's at an age that I don't know. James Taylor would like to say, of course, James Taylor, who just returned to the ring in his own right, said, I expect him to be on top of his game. He actually looks to be in the best shape of his life, even better than he looked 10 years ago. I believe he's just going to be fine. But I think it's still a question because he hasn't been out there. The last time he was in the ring was what? He had the one thing that at the Rumble. He had that. He hasn't had a match in what, a year? Basically, right. He had All In was about a year ago, right? That was the last match. We're talking about 10, 11 months.
Last televised one-on-one match, he did have a couple dark house show one-on-ones with Dominic Mysterio, but
In WWE?
it hasn't been, he hasn't had a televised one-on-one match since All In, and he hasn't had a televised WWE
So he
one-on-one.
had those matches with Dom before the Rumble, obviously, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
So he's had a handful of matches, and he had the Rumble, and that's the extent of what he's had the last year. Listen, I hope he goes out there and is able to have a 4 or 5 year run, but I don't think it's a bad point to say that this is kind of where does he go from here? If I can do it at 40 after a year, comparable time frame, I'm sure he'll be able to do it at 45. But it's WWE. He's got to go with McIntyre. McIntyre. So who do you guys? So you guys think Drew or Punk? Who do you think wins?
I think Drew needs to win this one because if you have Punk win, then there's really no, unless you do something with Drew afterwards, there is very little reasons to continue it. Whereas you give Drew let Drew get his comeuppance on Punk in this match, and you can drag this out to say, maybe all the way to Bad Blood.
Okay. And you want to say TBK? Who do you think wins here? So I'll go around and do a match. I'll go one by one. Who do we think wins each match afterwards? And then we'll get to closing thoughts.
Okay. This might be a little far-fetched, but
go for it.
Again, just try to follow me here. I said that CM Punk's ultimate goal is to have the Mania moment, but I feel like after Drew being screwed as many times as he has, if they were to somehow keep it interesting and drag this all the way out to Mania between these two, being that Drew had the big moment, but he didn't get to have it in front of a Mania crowd, Punk gets his moment, but Drew gets his fulfillment. Like he gets, I really think if you're going to make it to where Drew just absolutely needs to go out there and kill the moment and have that moment, you keep poking the bear, keep screwing, just make him unhinged to the point to where it's like, holy crap, if he doesn't win, maybe he walks, something along those lines.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll have to see. Let me run through everybody shotgun again, just to go on the record. Liv and Rhea, who do you think wins? Just who do you think wins?
I'm gonna go with Liv, and I think it might have, it could have something to do with either Dom or Finn and JD costing her the match.
Okay, for you, TBK, Liv or Rhea?
I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna go with Liv because I think they've been setting up the Dom turn on Rhea. Like I said, I've gone on record to say this before, and anybody who's listened to me talk before is going to hear it again. When WWE wants to make something obvious, they make it obvious.
Bayley and Nia Jax.
I'm gonna say Bailey just because I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if Tiffany's gonna cash in, but I think you keep Bailey with the belt because I see it meaning more if Tiffany takes the belt off of Bailey than it would with Nia.
All right, for
Uh,
you, Bailey and Nia.
I'm going with Nia because I think it sets up the eventual cash in on Nia from Tiffany.
Okay, I did hear that on one of our podcasts on Sportzwire Radio.org. Okay, fair play. Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker.
Braun Breaker, just because I think they do want to do a program with Braun and Ilya for the IC title, and I do want to see Sammy kind of move away from that. Maybe do the stuff with the bloodline, but I do see Sammy at some point, not maybe in the next year or two, being in the world title picture, especially if his mic work as of late. I'm also going to say that I am actually thinking that is going to be the show stealer of the night.
For you, TBK? Sami Zayn, Braun Breaker.
I can agree with the fact that it could steal the show, because those two have been having phenomenal matches. I don't know. I think it might be a little soon for Braun, especially with a title of that caliber. Although he's been phenomenal, super explosive. I do agree that I could see Sammy moving on for the potential, like I said, Civil War bloodline Civil War games. Oh man, this is a toss up, dude. If all right, I'll throw caution to the wind. I'm going to say that Braun's going to steal it.
Okay, all right, that's a good one. Logan Paul and LA Knight, real quick for you guys, and I'll get to James at the end when we run through all the.
LA Knight. Logan's had the belt for a decent amount of time. Give LA Knight that big moment and let him, let us see what he can do as a champion.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I had to disagree with one of the guys in your chat before, saying that nobody is believing Logan as a real wrestler. Like I said,
I think that was Andre and Emily, who's here Sunday. Yep, that was Andre and Emily.
Like I said, I'm not a fan of Logan personally, but the fact of the matter is, he is more than he has more than proved himself that he can hang in there with these guys, make it believable, and he actually looks good doing it.
I think that's a good point. Athletically, he's definitely a talent for sure. That's a good point.
Sure. That being said, it is definitely time for LA Knight to have a title run. I'm taking LA Knight.
Maryland guy, can't go wrong with the Maryland hometown guy. For you, Maryland. Maryland. Somebody in Maryland's going to win something big this year. I have a feeling. We'll see. Maybe the Ravens and Orioles. They're still very much alive. Let's go to Priest and Gunther. Obviously, much maligned title match there. And who do you guys think? I feel like we're going to have another difference of opinion there. But what do you guys think there?
I like I said before, I think Gunther doesn't need to win it now. Priest, I think you could use the win more. Plus, I like the idea of giving Gunther the title win at Berlin.
Okay, interesting. What about you, TBK?
Gunther is probably one of the best, if not the best, roster members right now. He is 1,000% believable. And I have for a long time been an advocate of the Judgment Day split. It needs to happen. Rhea and Damian can absolutely survive on their own. Whatever they're going to do with Finn and big head ass JD, good luck. I really think that Finn deserves another singles run, but that's beside the point. I want to see the Judgment Day split so bad. I'm 100%. I'm taking Gunther.
All right, good stuff. And last one, Cody and Solo.
Cody wins, and I like I said, because they've added the stipulation of bloodline rules, which is basically no DQ. I honestly am gonna say that Cody wins because of Roman.
Sure. Yep. Like I said in the comments, if they decide to absolutely blow the proverbial load, so to speak, and give you 3 surprises in one night, like I said, I don't know if you count Zilla Fatu as a surprise, being that it's been rumored that he's supposed to be coming up anyway. But since it is bloodline rules, I could see it happening. The only 2 real surprises that are in the tank, in the chamber, 100%, Roman returning and The Rock coming back because of him wrapping up his film. But I got to agree with Crenson. Cody, obviously for now, needs to retain.
Okay, very good stuff. I'll go through who I think one by one. I'm going with Cody over Solo. I just don't see at the moment Cody losing. I'm going with CM Punk over Drew McIntyre for whatever reason. I still go with the logic of it's his return match to the ring in over a decade. He has to win. They'll continue the feud. There'll be something here, but I don't think they're done by a long shot. I'm going with Liv Morgan over Rhea Ripley, because I do think that Liv Morgan's got the title. She's got a good run. Rhea had almost a year with the title. Let's see this storyline further blossom, and let's see maybe where it goes next. I'm going with Gunther over Priest because I do think that Priest is the quintessential transition champion, and this just screams to me that moment to take the title off him. I'm going Bayley over Nia Jax, but I'm not fully convinced on it because I do feel like Nia could win this based on it, but I'm going to go the incumbent, but I'm not 100% on this one. I'm going Braun Breaker over Sami Zayn. I think it's time for Braun Breaker to win. I think somebody has to win a title here. I'm going with LA Knight over Logan Paul. I mean, the Yeah movement, he has to get a win here. He has to get a win. And those are my picks. And I want to see what the Wyatts do. Hopefully we see the Wyatts tomorrow. And I think that'll be another thing I'd like to see more where that develops. And that's exciting. And let me get to James before we sign off. He likes Rhea to regain the title. Drew wins because Seth screws him over, furthering the rivalry. I think Nicholas said that, maybe. Bayley retains because she's been on a good run with the title. I mean, they did talk about that tonight, how she's had a good run. She's different. It's not the Bayley of years ago. Yeah, I mean, that's the only reason I think Bayley's going to retain, but I'm not 100% sure on that because I do think that there's Nia in that briefcase. I think it's time for Gunther to get a moment. I think he's run the last 3 years has been absolutely, I think TBK at the nail on that. He's the best guy on their roster, one of the best in the sport. Cody retains, either Roman or The Rock returns, maybe both. I think you both agreed. There you go. You and James Taylor agreed on something both. Hi to the nemesis, James Taylor. Okay, great stuff. Does anybody want to say anything else here before we sign off, before we bid adieu to people? All right, but someone wants to say before we say sayonara?
Honestly, all I have to say is stay tuned the next couple of weeks because I'm soon gonna have another belt on this lovely shoulder of mine, and also I'm honestly looking for.
Spoil that for us, like Craven did last week. Are you trying to spoil? You really want to spoil it for us? Because you know that was the big topic last week on Sportswire when Craven spoiled that he.
I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm just going to get the kick.
That hasn't happened yet. We don't want to know. We don't know who's going to win still. So we want to make sure that, you know, I mean, a lot of people would still be convinced Craven's going to be champion until 2030. So.
Oh God.
Craven could be champion until 2030. So I think that's pretty much, you know, or maybe Craven's planning a presidential like term as champion. You know, his last run as all out champion was what, almost a year plus. So maybe now he wants a full 4-year term. I don't know, but listen, let's not even go there. Joshua Allen wants to say hello. He'd like to say hello to you. Yes, Mr. Allen, we say hello to you. And Mr. Allen, we're supposed to have Chaotic here right after SummerSlam. So to be determined. So far, that's the case. We'll see about that. Anything else you want to say, TBK, before we sign off?
Yeah, Josh, what's up, buddy? Thanks for having me, man. Like I said, it's been a while. This was fun.
Wrestling was good. I think next week we're going to do it again. Randy will be back, so we'll definitely talk some current wrestling. People like the current wrestling. I'll be honest, it's hard to talk football and baseball we're really Sportswire's wrestling at this point. I mean, you know, it's kind of tough.
I think maybe once football gets into the regular season, maybe. But
Maybe. I don't
it's
know.
your show, not mine.
No, I got that. But you have to go based on what the people tell you. They take a temperature. Wrestling, you can talk WWE here. We can do like AEW. It's hard, when again, when the analysts that you have on, they're not, again, they have done so much for us. They've done so many great things. They've really, helped the station grow. They've been podcasters, but they don't really, the people tell you what they want to hear. I mean, we're going to do a regular show next. We're going to definitely do it. I believe in it. But really what the people come to Sportswire for is wrestling talk. That's really what, that's why we're almost at 1,000 subs.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah, just like I said, thanks for having me, Cranston. It was good talking to you, buddy. And I hope to get the old computer back up and running by next week. And who knows if Tom will allow me, I might start coming back more regularly.
Yeah, well, next week we'll definitely do the first hour. We're going to do regular wrestling. Going to definitely talk WWE, talk the SummerSlam Fallout. Definitely want to get into that. There'll be AEW news. Randy should be back. So yeah, if Mr. Crenton's available, he's welcome to pop on. We'll definitely do that. Maybe Alan Michaels and Shane Davidson will be here. If not, we could definitely, the four of us could definitely talk for an hour and a half wrestling. Fine by me. Sounds good. Cool. Everybody, if you want to follow the guys, check them out in a couple of different ways. I'm going to actually put their links up here very shortly because I actually have it here right in front of me. So if you want to follow TBK, he's on Instagram. You can check him out there. He's got an Instagram page. You got it right here. Go give him a follow. Give him anything else in between. There's his stuff. He's done some stuff to Be More Talkative podcast. He's interviewed Joshua Allen. He's interviewed guys like James Taylor, the Tribal Cheese, James Barris. Definitely check him out there and find out what he's about. He's done some logo work. Alan Michaels and the TSF Takes Boys. He's done that. That's Nicholas Crenton. Nicholas is also on Threads. That's when Nicholas had black hair. He's got blonde hair. Nicholas changes his hair color, sometimes more like the sun. But check him out. He's one half of the IMF Hardcore Tag Team Champions. You can see a lot of his stuff here, and he's on Sportswire pretty regularly. And want to say hello to my friend Levi McDaniel. Nicholas, a man that you obviously share a locker room with. He wants to say hello, and maybe there'll be Wrestlers Court that you'll see once again in an IMF ring at All Out Warfare, but Nicholas won't be on trial. He'll be in the ring, I'm sure, defending those hardcore tag team titles. And Levi, we're actually about to sign off because we basically did a SummerSlam rundown, talked AEW, talked Shane McMahon, talked about Britt Baker being suspended. I was wondering why Britt Baker, if anybody didn't talk about her and Adam Cole, that seems to be a thing. I don't know why it's a thing, but everybody seems to be talking about things not in the ring about AEW. We did talk about Bryan Danielson. Ospreay spoke about that for a few minutes, and you can check us out anytime. YouTube at Sportswire Radio 657. I'm almost at 1,000 subs, so thank you everybody for your support. Moving up a little closer to that, and I'll be here after SummerSlam Chaotic of TBW. After SummerSlam, tentatively, Andre and Amelie, 7 o'clock Monday. Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling Worldwide Universal Champion. Monday night, Comatose after Raw. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally where all wrestling matters. I want to thank everybody in the chat. I want to thank Nicholas Crenton and TBK for pinch hitting for me today because I was supposed to actually have a regular show, and that might be a sign that I need to talk wrestling. But we'll see what the guys do next week. But thank you so much, everybody. Have a great night. Enjoy it. I'll see everybody tomorrow after SummerSlam. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. On the number one global radio station, Sportswire Radio, where